Hey everybody, it's Carteg the Hobby Geek here with a hobby tip for those of us with 3D printers. I recently found a video by 3D Printing Pro, there's a link down in the description below, that details a new way to print bases directly on the build plate to combat the problem of elephant's foot, distorting the base. This method was good, but a little complicated, but there's a little bit more that could be done to tweak it. Enter my beginner skills in Mesh Mixer. I decided to start with the Titan Forge bases from September's release. So let's import a round 32mm base to start out with. First thing we're going to do is go to Edit and Align. And you'll see that it turns transparent there. We're going to click Accept, and it disappears. But that's because it's centered on the build plate now, or centered in the world right now. So, next thing we're going to do here is go to Mesh Mix and drag out a cylinder. Now, what we're going to do here is set the size close to 30 millimeters. So we're just going to size it up about to there. Now, the reason we're doing it at a smaller size than the base itself is because we want this to be a little bit smaller than the base itself. This is the part of the base that we want to get elephant's foot. We want this to be a little bit distorted. It's going to be okay with it. So I want to make sure the composition mode is set to create new object, then click accept. It's okay that it looks ugly. We're fine. Next we're going to click on that cylinder, go to edit and align. And now you're going to see the base sticking out like a ring around our cylinder. But we're not done yet. Now we're going to keep our cylinder highlighted. After accepting that, we're going to go to Transform and resize it. To resize in Mesh Mixer, we're going to select the box at the end of the arrow and start to shrink it. So we're going to click on the blue arrow, or the blue box here, and start to shrink it. Now we're going to get this down between anywhere between 3/4 of a millimeter and 1 1/4 millimeters. This is a little over, it's going to be fine. So for that, this is now sticking out a little over 0.6 millimeters out the bottom of the base. After we resize it, we're going to click accept. So now we have the two little parts here. What we're going to need to do is merge them together. So keeping this one highlighted, we're going to hold select and click on the base itself. Then click on combine. So now you're going to see they've grouped together here with the cylinder now green on the bottom. So, the one thing we need to do, since these are two objects glued together, we want to make sure that they're one object. So, to do that, we're going to make it solid. It's going to run through and check for errors. We're going to click accept after leaving everything default. So now we have a base with a little bit of extra sticking out of the bottom. So that way it will prevent it from getting elephant's foot when we print it out. So now what we're going to do is add another feature to it. We're going to add a magnet hole. So I like to magnetize my minis by putting them in cake pans. And I happen to have a bunch of 6x2 millimeter magnets. So I'm going to set this to a little over 6 millimeters in diameter. Click accept. And we're going to take that new cylinder, go to edit and align to align it with everything else. Now it's sticking out the front of the base a little bit here. We're going to accept it. Then we're going to transform this. Now, the controls here aren't that intuitive, I've found, but we're going to click on the red square there, or the red triangle, and start to pull that out the back of the base. So I've pulled mine out about 6 millimeters, so the middle point is centered on the back of the base. We're going to accept that. Now, I messed up. So, in addition to that, we're also going to go to size here and resize this to 4.5 millimeters. The reason for this is that it's going to be sticking out an equal amount on the inside of the base. So this hole itself is 4.5 millimeters. We're going to make sure that it sticks out 2 1/4 on the inside. We're going to accept that. Now we're going to remove that from the first one. This is kind of the tricky part. We'll want to click on the base itself first, then shift-click on the smaller cylinder. The reason we want to do it in that order is because if we do it the other way, it's not going to work. So, after we do that, we'll go over here and click on Boolean Difference. And over here, we'll want to auto-reduce result. We'll want to uncheck that. If you don't have it unchecked, it's going to cause problems along the bottom of the base. It's going to distort it real funny. And if you want to try it, you can go ahead and check it and run it. I guarantee you're going to undo it and run it this way instead. So let's click Accept. We now have a base with a hole in it. So the only thing left to do is to export the STL. So we'll go down here to Export. And I'm just going to overwrite the one that I'd saved earlier when I was doing a test for this. So we'll save it. And now we have a 32mm base that we can print directly in Chitterbox without a raft or anything special to hold it to the base to make sure that it prints properly. So, if you have any other hobby tips, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.